and indifference. Some say it was retribution from the heavens. All we know is the pandemic began somewhere. Somewhere cursed, dark, and filled with sorrow. Future generations will wonder how it all started. We will tell them the infection began with PodcastZERO.
Sometimes I wish I had a beard.
Oh God, that's perfect to start off with.
It is. It?
That was. I so wish I had a beard. Me too. Me too. Hello, everybody. Welcome to PodcastZERO, an H1Z1 discussion, and tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Cycles McHurts, aka Tom Schenck, technical director for H1Z1.
Yay!
Hello. Echo. Is there echo?
There could be.
Oh no. The echo is real.
What echo?
I don't hear
Hang
echo.
on. Let me turn on the thing.
Okay.
Echo for me?
Hold on.
I don't hear anything. I think they're cray.
Cray?
Cray.
I'm looking through all my...
It's fine.
Is there echo?
Yeah. No.
There's no echo.
I mean, no.
Oh, he's getting it because
You're
he's watching... Yes, he's getting it because he's watching your channel at the same time my channel, and so he's getting the echo from your channel.
Yeah, that's probably why it is.
Okay.
User error.
User error. That never happens. Hello. All right, so for those of you who are here for the first time or you're just checking out the show, we have a little bit of a procedure here. How we do this is we're going to start with the show, talk to Tom a little bit here, and then we're going to open the floor up for questions and answers. If you would like to ask questions, this is the guy to ask them to, because usually we're pretty vapid in our sort of like, maybe we think this will happen. So if you want to ask questions, all you do is put the question in brackets, and then we will put them in chat. Skyla, can you help with that tonight?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much. So Skyla is going to be our chat monkey, and she's going to grab the questions and stick them into chat. But you have to put the word question in brackets so she can see it. If you just ask a question straight up,
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do it.
Okay, forget it. She's not going to do it.
That's the rule. I'm not doing it.
She's not doing it. She's pretty obstinate right now, so I wouldn't mess around. So, hey, Trendane. Hello. All right. So, hey, Tom. Cycles must start. Can you give us a little bit of a background with your involvement with this game? How did you get involved?
This game?
Yeah, how did you get involved with H1Z1 and Sony? I guess you could start off with where were you born?
I was born actually in San Diego, moved away and came back.
Okay.
No, I got involved with Sony Online because actually when I first started working in the games industry in 1990, this guy named John Smedley hired me.
I know him.
And we worked on a little company, a couple of different games. I did some Atari Lynx products, some Super Nintendo stuff, and we kind of parted different ways for a little while. I did more PC and then console stuff for a while, and then around 2009, I contacted him again, and he was looking for someone to come back, and here I am. As far as H1Z1 goes, we were working on a couple different products. I worked on PlanetSide for a couple years, and after that, we went to another product. We were doing some research on the engine, and did some experimental stuff with World War II, but we had some issues with just basically getting what we wanted out of that. So we kind of shelved that for a bit and decided to go onto this survival genre because we were all really excited about it. We were all playing it, all sorts of different games, and that's kind of where it grew from. So about a year ago, now I think we started working on the game, and here we are.
Awesome. Can you give a little bit of a elevator pitch about your job description at SOE?
I sit on my butt and read emails all day. I'm not sure what you're asking for here. No, technical director. I'm the guy in charge of tasking all the coders and keeping a lot of the technical requirements in line. So we keep it under frame rate, we keep it under memory budgets, tracking, make sure the servers are running correctly. We've got them configured, and everything's working well, basically.
So you're the guy that everyone goes to and says, "Hey, the server just exploded," and
everything is my fault. Yes,
everything's your fault, right?
So during early access, when that inevitably happens, we just tweet at you. Noted.
You blame me for everything. Yes, I will ignore almost everyone equally.
This is what I'm worried, and I'm sure you're concerned about this too as well. But when the game finally launches, early access on January 15th, in 28 days, 17 hours, 53 minutes, and 31 seconds. You're going to be sitting there like in a cold sweat, hoping that these servers all launch smoothly and efficiently. Are you going to kind of do maybe one of those sneaky things where you open the servers like 15, 20 minutes early, but don't tell anybody, and just let the load sort of balance out that way?
It wouldn't be a surprise if I told you that, would it?
Like, okay, true, yes.
It's just between us. It stays in the Skype chat.
And the 295 people that are watching. Cool. All right, so you guys, you want to ask Tom anything before we get started here? In the chat? Stockus?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You awake, Stockus?
Yeah, I can't remember. I remember we were talking about something
so I was kind of
45 minutes ago, and
yes.
I can't remember what it is now.
You had a
This
thing
is
you
why you
wanted
don't
to
talk
to him
about stuff early.
I know,
That's
I know.
right.
I'm sorry. I kind of just should have given you a little bit of a warm-up then. My bad.
That's right. Remind me, what was it I was talking about?
See,
I can't remember.
Oh, we talk about so much stuff in the chat, I forget. But anyway.
I legit.
Battery jokes? No.
No, oh yeah, the battery jokes.
That was about livers.
Something else.
No.
Well, while you're thinking about that, as far as like the rest of us in the chat go, or in the show here goes, we've all been playing a lot of survival games, sort of ramping up. You remember now?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's fine. That's all right. You finish.
Okay. We've been playing a lot of survival games, and I've been playing one called Miscreated and Rust, which a lot of you are familiar with Rust. And Tangent's been playing Rust, Miscreated. Stat, you've been doing it. Skyla and Stockus, have you guys... Stockus, you've been playing Rust, because you've been on our server. Skyla, have you been playing anything?
Other than brief stints in 7 Days and Rust recently, nothing else survival related, no.
Getting warmed up for the H1Z1.
I'm getting calmed down for H1Z1 by not playing a bunch of other survival games.
Really?
Clearing my palate, yes.
Clearing the palate. That's a different way to look at it, I guess.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. So, Tangent, what are your thoughts on the current state of affairs with some of the other survival games?
Well, I find it ironic that some of the best survival stuff in probably the past few years is coming out 1 month prior to the launch of H1Z1.
Right.
It's like now there's actually a bunch of survival horror games that I kind of want to play, and I feel like I'm going to be saying goodbye to them really early, because we're all going to be jumping on the H1Z1 stuff. But like Rust, for example, Rust has surprised the heck out of me.
Looks beautiful now, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So I think that we're kind of at a point right now where I think the arms race might be back on. I think that we're going to be seeing maybe a bit more stiffer competition from people. You know, like we were all looking forward to H1Z1 kind of like stepping up to this area, but like there might actually be some stiff competition from like the Rust communities and things like that if the developers continue to push for that. But the big dogs like DayZ still don't seem to be living up to their. They even raised their price on them fairly recently, didn't they?
Yeah. So let me show on the screen here. I'm going to show what the latest update for H1 or for DayZ is. This is DayZ's latest update. It's a teddy bear, a pink dress, a pink gun, pink shoes, and a pink balaclava.
I think that stuff
I thought it was a
fun.
pretty cool update.
It's fun. If everything
If you're a
else
girl?
is done.
I mean, that's a silent teddy bear.
No, I would
That's pretty
still
awesome.
not wear that in the zombie apocalypse or otherwise. But no, I think it's fun if you're actually showing progress in other areas of your game as well.
Right.
But if you're not, then
If the zombies aren't walking through the floor and underneath the walls or whatever and eating you still and all the other problems that the game's having, then yes, then you can do this kind of stuff once you have that kind of thing nailed down. But
Some of those things are just kind of leftovers from other games too. I mean, like we have a couple of things. We have a little squirrel kind of monkey-ish thing we call Chatty we've seen before. That's kind of just something we have around all our games, right? That's just we have that asset. We've had it for years. We put it in pretty much all of our games actually. We had it in Planetside for a while.
Really? Was it found?
I don't think so.
Like in a box somewhere and nobody's telling.
Oh my god.
Well, people find the
Easter egg.
And we use in PlanetSide for measuring things. We still have those in H1Z1 too. So those are just laying around too. We forget to take them out once in a while.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is awesome.
I do remember my question now.
Go ahead, please.
We were watching that Vine that was put up trying to mass spawn lots of mobs.
I'll show that one.
And they were looking for rubber banding. Was it Clegg that... I think Clegg Vined it, but it was someone else was actually doing it.
When I was trying to fix the thing earlier, I closed all my Vine windows. Hold on, I get it back up.
Nice one. Basically, yeah, it was just spawning a whole bunch of wolves and zombies to just check when there's a lot of AI spawned in the one spot if you get like warping and rubber banding and stuff. But we noticed that there was no collision. Like all the zombies were running through each other, all the wolves were. We were wondering if that's just a thing that you haven't implemented yet. Like, will there be collision with things like zombies?
There is, and what you're seeing there actually is part of the rubber banding we're talking about, right? So that's a difference between where the server thinks things are and where the client thinks things are. It's part of the lag system. So we have a different way of doing it. Maybe some other games do. We predict and we also backtime some things. So there's a lot of stuff we do on our network stuff to kind of account for. We don't see quite as much rubber banding because we've been doing it for a while. We've got that experience behind us. But what you see is you just see the zombie kind of not going right through somebody. Sometimes that just means we forgot the collision. You turn a flag on and off, or in this case, I think it was part of our server tech was just missing some of the packets, so we weren't getting those updates.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is let me just put this hypothetical. There's a zombie standing at the door and he's facing away from you. You won't be able to walk through him. Or will you be able to walk through him?
You shouldn't be able to walk through him. No, that's the intent.
Okay.
Some of these things we turn on and off based on performance needs.
Okay.
Because some of them are performance based, and so we may actually we'll message that out when we do those kinds of things on the server. So you'll be able to know ahead of time that we're going to be having these things turned on and off. We're trying to make a really good effort to make sure everyone knows what's going to be in the game and what you'll experience while you're in there. So we're going to try and communicate very effectively what the state of the game is at any one time. So I mean, there very well could be rubber banding and walking through things as we work through some of these issues. We may turn it off because performance is a problem. It's like, you know what? If you want it to run well, but you're going to run through things, that's the choice, right? So here you go. We'll let you play that way. It really depends on what the needs are at the moment.
Cool. Might as well talk about all these other vines that they put up. There's one.
Oh, by the way, it was Mitch, I think, that was doing it. He's the big zombie performance test guy.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Here's a picture, I guess, Jimmy Weisenhunt put up of him throwing a spear and blowing up a car.
He actually wasn't throwing it.
Oh, no, he's just poking at it from a mile away, which I think is pretty impressive. Not a mile
That's
away.
a long stick.
It is a very long stick.
Well.
So what exactly are we seeing here with this sort of test?
It's some of the initial tests that he's doing for the two-handed combat stuff. We had a thrown spear in for a while. We've still got some issues with lag based on where you throw it, which I think I don't know if he showed in the video or not, but we're also looking at making sure that when you have that, you can hold it this way and throw it. You can also hold it with two hands and stab people with it.
It's fantastic.
So that's what he's trying to show there. Is he was just doing his test like this. You notice that he might have botched a number or a decimal point here and there, and he was hitting things 100 meters away.
Is this Morning Wood?
No.
Okay.
Can we see Morningwood yet?
Morningwood is a bit spikier, isn't it? Never mind.
It is, yes.
Morningwood is
That's what I thought. I thought it was like
spiky.
a club and it was spiky. Shut
Yeah,
up.
I think we've already seen it, hasn't it? Got like barbed wire around it.
Yeah, I think it's a spiked. Was it barbed
A
wire?
club.
I forget exactly which one it was. We have two. One with barbed wire and one with nails sticking out of it.
Yeah, I thought it was nails, but I could be.
I thought it was the nails one for Morningwood. Yeah.
The
remember.
explosion in this is just fantastic. Just keep watching the explosion part of it more than anything. It's really great.
Yeah, our effects guy Rich is really good at doing a lot of these things. He's had experience from the PlanetSide team as well because that's where he was for a while.
Yeah.
And he's been doing a lot of stuff working with that. And we have the rendering guy is Ryan on here doing some really cool optimizations and visual stuff to get those explosions look really nice.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Usually we do the question and answer, but right now you've been talking about PlanetSide, so I do want to bring this up.
Sure.
While we are playing our survival games, Tangent, Satellites, myself, Skyla, all of us, we're playing it, we're streaming it. We invariably get the question, because most of us have been putting in our title H1Z1 prep of some sort, like we're saying H1Z1 prep when we're playing Risk Created. they're coming in going, hey, you know, what is Sony going to be doing for hackers? Because invariably, like, Rust is rife with hacking. I mean, it's better now, but that's probably what killed Rust initially. So I say that, well, you've had a long experience with PlanetSide, but what's your thoughts on that? Because you're kind of involved with that.
We don't talk in details about how the system works,
right?
But we've had it for a long time, and I mean, the gist of it is that most of the hacks out there that we've seen have gotten pretty frustrated because it works pretty well. We have a team of guys who keep track of what's going on. Mm-hmm. We watch things. We have a lot of information that we don't always act on right away. That's kind of the way anti-hack works in general. Is you're not always giving them feedback right away. But we keep an eye on whatever's going on, and we actively change things. I mean, each patch there's usually something different about the way things work, and that itself is a big part of it. But I mean, we're active. We think it's a huge deal. We know it's a huge problem, and we've been doing this for a long time. We know what to look for both in statistics and other things, so we can keep an eye on things pretty well.
Has the popularity of Twitch helped you guys, or is it going to? Say someone of us is streaming the game and we're there and we're recording the VOD and we come across something like that and we say, oh no, this guy looks like he's blatantly hacking or whatever, then we send you a quick message like say, hey, look at my last VOD timestamp here, this guy looks a bit sus. Will things like that be helping you guys with something like H1Z1?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the video recording we've gotten from every source, including Twitch especially, has been extremely helpful for some of these things. Because it gives you a really good reference, and you guys see one thing, and we as the developers kind of see things a lot differently. We know what's going on behind the scenes, and so we can identify those things a lot differently than some people can. So the video is extremely helpful for context, and also just for very specific things. Mm-hmm. There's certain things we see on the screen that happen that tell us what's going on in the engine, so we can use that as a reference as well. Cool. The way that the hit indicators on PlanetSide work differently based on how the server's responding to the hit. So we can tell that from that part alone, we can tell what's going on.
Satellizer's not dead. He's just stuffed. We don't let him talk until later. He hasn't met his quotas yet.
You have me on a leash right now.
I think he's still asleep.
A muzzle.
Yeah, it's still early for Sat. He's a middle of the night streamer, so this is early morning for him.
He's daydreaming about that dress still.
Ooh, I do want to say that I am giving away H1Z1 early access. Not tonight, of course, because it's not out yet. But
can I have it?
Well, sure, yeah. But yeah, in a little while, I'll give out the keyword, and you guys can jump in for a raffle because we're going to be giving it away once it releases. I'm purchasing it, and I'm sending you the copy of it on Steam. Unless you're in North Korea, I won't send it to you there.
Oh, they don't have internet in North Korea, dear.
That's true. That's right. They have the clacks.
They have a LAN. It's just one giant LAN. There's no internet. It's just one big LAN.
Yeah. Intranet.
Yeah.
Now this is going to get taken down by North Korea.
All right. So remember, everybody, if you'd like to ask any questions, please write the word "question" in brackets, and then we will move on. So can you give us some any new interesting tidbits or stuff like that that's come up recently, Tom? That as you're getting closer, we have the whiteboard from Smedley. Most of those things getting crossed off pretty efficiently, or are you having some troubles with it?
Well, there's a couple of things at the end we talked about that we don't really cross off until the game launches. Things like the roadmap we've been talking about. We'll be using the roadmap pretty extensively. We're putting together documentation that. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, that we want to make sure that users know what to expect at different points of the game, including when you start. So you have an idea of what's actually going to happen when you start the game. What state it's in, what we expect to be going on right now, where we see problems. Really trying to keep things up to date with you guys. In terms of specific stuff, we've been kind of tweeting out a lot of the cool stuff we've been showing. I've been doing recently. Jimmy's doing the two-handed weapon stuff. That's been going pretty good. More work on the sound engine's been good. Just a lot of tuning and tweaking stuff for the most part right now. Making sure all the boarding up is working correctly, doing performance testing, getting a bunch of people in, tracking. We've found a lot of problems. We found a couple memory leaks recently. It's a lot of small tasks with lots of debugging. I think right now, but the main focus is.
Is it a benefit that you guys are coming from PlanetSide 2 with this game? Like you're not coming from it, but you're basically taking PlanetSide 2, stripping it away, and making H1Z1 on its skeleton.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a starting point. I mean, when I started in this industry a long time ago, everything was written, from scratch for the most part. Mostly because memory footprints were so small. I mean, my first game was 64K.
Right.
That was the entire game, and didn't even fill up the entire cartridge actually. So you just threw it all away and wrote it again. These days, there's so much that goes into a game that anything you start with is a bonus. That's why a lot of people use SDKs. Things that are out there.
Unity.
It gives them that starting point.
Yeah. That's true. It is, and you can almost become a developer without even having much of a background in it. You just kind of, I think I like this idea, and I'll get the Unity engine, download it for however many dollars it is, and have at it.
And there's limits to some of those things, right? You can't do the same kind of game you can in Unity as you can in Unreal versus Forge-Lite or CryEngine. Any of those engines are all kind of specific to certain genres.
Right. You shouldn't take.
At some point they are, and then some of them are more flexible than others.
You shouldn't take CryEngine and make it into a space sim. I think that if somebody were to do that, that'd be like a terrible, terrible idea. Sorry.
Oh, that reminds me of my question about you made a small announcement that to start with, I don't know if it's ever going to be retroed back to 32-bit, that for the moment it's going to be 64-bit OSs only.
Yeah.
And just wanted to ask you if you're having any trouble implementing double precision with the 64-bit, but...
No, that's not really anything that's related to it. I mean, the point is that at some point you have a lot of testing to do, and so we have a lot, as a coder, I have to do 3 different compiles to testings right now just for 32-bit. When you double that with 64-bit, I have to do 6 different compiles to make sure they all work and test those different things. And so it's really kind of a time savings for us as well as a maintenance nightmare to have to support too many things with a small team. And so we just made the decision a while back, actually. Sony, as a general rule, made a decision to just do 64-bit from now on out. I think Landmark was the first one to do that.
Yeah.
And H1Z1 is the next one, and we're going on from there, just entirely 64-bit. It's been, 10 years now?
Yeah. I just can't get people to keep complaining about 32-bit. It blows my mind.
Again, going back to what I said before, I made a game with 64K, so it's a bit mind-boggling to me that we're still using 2 gigs at some point to make something, because I've done it a lot less. But at some point, again, it allows for a lot more freedom to be able to do things that way, and then there's just overhead with every time you go up in bits. My first games were 8-bit, going to 16-bit, it was a huge deal for us because it was going to expand how everything worked by twice as much, right? That's what happens every time, but you just roll with it and go for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys, you want to get started with some of the questions? We have a lot of them coming in, so
okay.
We can get.
There are a lot.
Definitely
Yes.
bigger. I can see it.
Yep. So go ahead, Skylar. You want to ask the first one?
Okay. Well, then I gotta scroll up. Are there any plans for skill-based gameplay? Like being able to upgrade your medic skill or anything like that? Yeah.
We've talked about skill-based gameplay, and it's one of those things that we have to do very carefully. And for us, early access is early access, and so we're not really certain where all the skills are going to fit in. We want to try and let the players design a lot of these things. And so the skills we put in are things that players are going to need and want as part of the gameplay. And so we have plans to look at it. We've talked about a lot of different ideas. And, I mean, some we posted on Reddit, I think, as well. I think Jimmy talked about it a few different times.
Yeah.
But the intent is that the skills are going to be there as we go through it and build them in a little bit later.
Cool. What kind of time frame will there be for respawns on items, trees, etc.?
Initially, I think maybe 20 to 30 minutes for a lot of these things is kind of a number we've just pulled out of the air. Again, that's one of those things that in an MMO space, you can only do so much without a lot of input. In a case like this, we can't really guess specifically how many people are going to want to chop trees down. It's possible, one server people just decide that's what they're going to do. We're going to chop every tree down in the zone because that's fun. Maybe it won't be, and maybe we'll need to have them respond faster or slower. It kind of depends. Again, with the rule sets we're talking about, that's going to be a different situation as well. So that may play into the way things work.
Okie dokie. We've seen a lot of games that have suffered overloaded servers during the release days. Do you guys have a plan for ensuring that you have sufficient servers available for access during those early days? I mean, yeah.
We have a plan for servers, and I can honestly say we're never going to be certain we have enough or too many.
Right.
It's just the way it works. We have a plan for both what we have now, a little bit of slop room in there at a couple of our sites, and then we know how long it's going to take to get more servers in place as well. So we're kind of preparing those plans.
Okay.
That's part of the ramp up to launch, is prepping all those plans up and deciding how much we're going to add later. Because it's always the issue is like, okay, we double the number of servers, and then what happens when they're not filled anymore? That's what every MMO goes through, right? You have that boom bust cycle. Of course, we'll grow forever. This will be awesome, so we don't have to worry about that bit.
Let me ask, before we go to the next question, I want to talk about the servers just for a moment.
Sure.
Many people would like to own their own server, just because it's sort of like, say Tangent, he's got a large community and he wants to have his community play with him, other than being on the main Sony servers. Any plans for private servers down the road, or is it just going to be Sony only for the foreseeable future?
The immediate plans are Sony only for certain, and in the future I don't want to rule that out, but we don't really know of a good way to do that with our infrastructure.
Right.
Because of the way that works and some of the requirements we have for both servers and other things we do, it's kind of a hard thing to get that all set up and working. And we've also seen abuse from some of those systems as well, that I think is a big concern for me, at least, when I play. Is you'd never really be certain how confident or how good those servers are going to be until you get in there and play for a while.
Because admins can hack them or give out gear to their favorite players or something like that.
Yeah, and to some extent that's okay because that's what the servers are for. But for us, we've always done that. We've always hosted our own servers, and that'd be a big change for us. We know it's something people like, but we have plans for it in the near future.
Okay.
Wouldn't it come down to a matter of quality control as well as a product standpoint, knowing that if someone gets into a H1Z1 game, no matter which server rule set it is or whatever, if it's run by Sony, you know that it's going to be maintained, it's going to be, everything's going to be run properly, any maintenance will be announced, all that sort of stuff. Is that one of the major concerns for you guys as far as keeping all your stuff?
For the team, that's been the big talking point there, is it's really because we want to be able to control the quality to a certain point and provide a consistent experience. And we thought that the approach of the rules-based servers, where you can vote on them, we can rotate them in and out and make tweaks based on what the players want, it's more of a controlled experience. There's a lot of things we can do to allow them to do it, but again, our server infrastructure is a lot more complicated than some people might think. You don't just have a box sitting there that's a server. That's not the way servers work. There's a lot of different machines involved, configuration of networks. It's not.
No, I know. That's why the Pirate Bay thing, just like on a side, that's why the Pirate Bay thing was funny to me, because people are like, there's not going to be any more things to torrent because they took their physical servers. Like, that's not how the internet works.
And these days, most servers are virtual anyway. So it's really just a configuration of virtual processors that you set up and distribute properly. And there's network load issues and making sure it's all working correctly. It's just an issue to deal with, and we want to make sure we go out the gate with a quality product.
How long does it take for you to bring a server online? If we do launch day and the servers are packed because you weren't expecting such a run on the cake, and now you have to bring up 5 more servers. How long would that take, do you think?
I think worst case is probably a couple of weeks.
Okay.
It's really hard to say. It depends on what the issues are and how long it takes to get into the individual data center, which data center it is, and what servers are actually the problem. So it's really hard to answer that specifically, but it could be a couple hours to a couple of weeks, depending on exactly how big the issue is. If we underestimate hugely, then it may well be a little while. But
do you have an estimate right now of how many you think will be trying to get on day one?
What's that, number of people?
Yeah.
No, we don't really talk about that specifically. We know we want to we're looking at the hundreds of people per server, and the number of servers is still up in the air, so it's not really certain yet what we'll be doing concurrently. But it's also going to be something we're going to play with. We may have 1,000-person servers and 100-person servers as well. That's kind of a mix, as rule sets or something like that. And of course, we're going to see other round-based gameplay as well as part of that. So that's going to play into it a bit, because the round-based systems are different overall. That doesn't really account for the same kind of concurrency as the others.
I've seen a couple questions about EU servers. Anything that's special to note there, or will people not just in the US be able to play and have it be fine?
I think the plan is to have the EU ones. I'm not sure exactly the timing of that. We're still talking about that, but I think we have some hardware out there to use, but I don't know the capacity used yet on there.
It's probably going to be a while before we see any Asia Pacific servers running online. I mean, I know Smedley said that eventually you guys want to have them, but I think we're just going to have to cope with US servers until the time being.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, that's the plan. I mean, that's more of a spec question, to be honest.
That's cool.
I have a question. I have
Really?
a question. Well, it comes from last week. I'm going to be the pain in the butt, but
Yeah, go ahead.
it's not planned for launch. This part I know, but
Uh-oh.
how long, or is it even realistically on the table for there being a robust character creator for the game?
I've tried to take the stance of making sure we're doing things in a performant way. And so the character creation is something we know we want to do correctly. And I mean, really the team's about doing things the right way. And so bringing in the features we know we can support at the frame rates we want and the quality we want is the way it works. And it seems a bit weird to be able to do too much character create without the female models in and some of the other races set up yet. So once we have those things set up, we'll have the ability to swap out the different clothing setups and some other things first. That's kind of the first steps for it. I mean, it is kind of, there's a progression to it, and so making sure we set those things up and test them properly before we go to farther on down the line. Throwing too many things into the mix at once is a definite way to fail.
Do you feel, though, that there is some people have said that you're expected to die so many times in a game like this that you shouldn't get too attached to your character? But H1Z1 has said before that we want you to care more about your experiences and your stories and your characters in these games. So do you think that do you personally think that there is a relevance to having more customizable characters in a game setting like this?
I've played a lot of games where you have complicated character creation, and you spend a couple hours messing with it, and then you don't go back to it again. And
You
so
never see your
for
character's
me,
face.
it's kind of cool to look at it and go, "Ooh, I can make the nose, the feet," and then you're over it and just kind of make something with purple hair and a mohawk and good to go.
Right. Do you feel, though, that the impression of your character becoming the zombie would be less exciting if all the characters were looking identical?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we definitely want to have some unique flavor to you and the way the character looks, but I think the key thing is we're not looking at, allowing you to make your cheekbones bigger and changing the lobe shape of your ear and things like that, which a lot of people have as the idea of a character create, changing the head and the hairstyles and stuff. Something we can look at for sure, and we have a couple of those things set up, but 100 different hairstyles out the gate, absolutely not. Right.
No sense in it because you're probably wearing a hat or a helmet or something.
Well, and that's a big part of it too. Is you see a lot of people wearing hats in all of these things because it helps keep you distinct, and then helmets because they help, right? They help against melee combat. They're part of your armor essentially in that respect.
It makes sense, and we theorized that one of the other reasons too was because it was sort of the planet side way. In the planet side you wear helmets for everything. Really, you don't ever really get to see your character's face at all.
Yeah. Now I got a question that I've been asking for a while now. I'm not sure if it was said yet, but for early access, will there be bikes?
Will there be bikes?
Bicycles.
Bicycles.
He likes bicycles.
For early access at the launch, no, we don't have the bikes in. I have seen them work on the models, but I don't know. I mean, the physics for a bicycle are quite different, and we could make it like a car with two wheels, but then it just doesn't feel right. And
yeah,
I mean, something we could do, but for me as a developer, I don't like doing things like that. They're kind of, to be honest, just kind of halfway done, and I'd rather do it the right way. I've actually done a motorcycle game in the past, and I know how that's supposed to work. It's not overly complicated, but we have a lot of other things to work out too, and making sure just the cars we have in now work well.
Cool. That's cool.
Okay.
All right, Sky, you want to go over another one?
Oh, yes. I'm going to do a big clarification question because I'm getting lots of questions about two things. One is the price point packages, the 20 and 40. Can you explain to them what comes with the higher priced one? I think it's going to roll into questions about servers anyway.
Not specifically, no. The monetization stuff is going to be a little bit farther in the future. We'll have that documented out. We'll know what those things are.
Yeah.
but not really to lay out all those things. Matt talked about it a little bit. One's going to have kind of the basic packages and a few different things in it, and the expanded one's going to have a lot more of those same things. We just don't know what those are right.
Cool. And the second one is what actually carries over from server to server, if anything, if you have characters on multiple servers?
For the most part, I'm going to say you can't take things from server to server. I mean, the one thing we've talked about is the discovery system allows you to discover recipes, and that may be a completely account-based system. But in terms of going into a world, pulling something out of that world and going to another server with it, I don't think that really fits into what we want to do. We've talked about that very specifically is like you make a character on that world and that's where it stays.
It's so exploitable.
Well, I've seen so many problems with that myself, but I mean, I think as far as we go is, the purchases you make, you'll make outside of a character necessarily in some cases. And those will go into a place where you can then put them onto a character.
Like a t-shirt or a hat.
So it's kind of a one-way street. I think that's about as far as we talked about. And I don't know if anything else.
Now, I can't remember if you said this earlier, or if it was confirmed or not, but when you die, will you lose all the recipes you've earned in that previous life, or do they carry over? Because I know when I play-tested earlier, I kept the recipes after I died, but might have been changed or something.
We did that initially because it was just a pain in the butt, honestly, as a tester to do that. The same reason we nerfed the zombies for a while.
Yeah.
It's kind of not fun when you just die every 2 seconds. But we did set up a rule set that is the over hardcore, which is you lose them all.
Okay.
Which is why I'm saying I don't know that we'll have the idea of recipes globally, but that should carry over at least between respawns on the servers that allow that. And it is a rule set we've enabled, so we do have the ability when you die, start at 0.
Now, on the topic of those rule sets, who chooses the rule sets per server? Like, if I want to find a specific server with specific rule sets, would you guys decide them, or would there be like some one person, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, initially we've decided what rules we want to implement, and we're going to kind of guess at what we think is popular. And Smed detailed a while back on Reddit in his player servers post the idea of using tokens or some sort of voting system so that you can basically say, all right, we want this combination, and then we'll put that together, we'll talk about it briefly and implement it and put it out there. And it may be that some of these servers are kind of, once a week kind of thing. It could be some that are persistent forever, and some that just come and go because no one liked them. And that's just the way it's going to be. We want to really engage with the community in this respect and make sure that they have access to these things. And sometimes servers are just fun for a little while, and sometimes it's fun to bring them back. And sometimes it's fun to just do it for an event, right? I mean, there's hunts out there that people do for the pumpkins and Planetside, for instance, that are kind of fun events, and I think it's kind of fun to have servers like that. Maybe it is fun to have an all-bear server. Probably not. Probably.
It depends on what you mean by fun, I think.
Probably fun for us to watch.
Exactly.
Depends on what you mean by bear.
Now, Tangent, have you been playing any games? I'm looking back to my last playlist, but I'm trying to find a game that I've played recently. I can't seem to find it. I play so many goddamn games. But anyway, that I played recently where it was like very, very difficult to survive in the game unless you work together. I was trying to find an example of that because that was one of the
Nether.
What's that? I've not played Nether.
Today is my first time playing Nether since a year ago, roughly, and the solo experience is like almost horrific. There's like no loot anywhere, and everybody kills on site. The map is so much smaller than any other survival horror out there, so it's like very difficult to survive. You could probably make an argument that the Hunter Primal works better in teams.
Yeah, no, but it was something else. It was different. It was sorry,
a specific game.
Yeah, it was a game, and anyway, what I was trying to get at the game was built around. It was so difficult to make it that you had to really work hard at working together.
Futile?
Maybe it was Life is Futile.
Life is Futile had a skill point system that
you're right.
It maxed out at a very, very low amount of skill points, reasonably speaking. So it's like I think it was like 600 skill points, and so that was enough skill points to get decent at like one of their 50, 60 some odd robust trees of things. So like literally the idea was like, yeah, if you're going to have this one person in your community who's going to be a focal point at being this good at this thing, so you're going to need to have different people with different skills. I'm sorry, you don't get to be the blacksmith. This guy gets to be the blacksmith. You have to be the shoe cobbler, and you have to be the guy who makes mud for the fence. You know, it's like one person had to be terraforming, one person had to be crafting, one person had to be gathering, because they could not have decent enough scores together. So that one was probably the most brutal that we played in the last 6 months.
Yeah. Have you played it or seen it at all, Tom? It's called Life is Feudal.
I have seen it. I haven't played it myself, but that was actually, that kind of system was brought up internally on the team, and also on Reddit. Somebody posted that some ideas kind of like that, so that you have to work together. And we found that in the game it's hard to collect a lot of these different things, and so it is kind of good to just be able to say, all right, you take the vehicle and you go off and you chop some trees down and bring them back over here and pop them down, and I'll go over here and I'll get the metal bits together,
right,
and we'll make some brackets and start building our foundation. So I think that that's kind of just going to play in naturally based on the way we set things up, and that's one of the things we want to tweak with the recipes that we're putting in now.
Right. Exactly. That was. I'm glad you brought that up, Tan, because that was it. That was, you're almost really, really forced to work together. And I'm thinking in a game like this, where you have the possibility to kill on site, that it's almost the reason I thought it was a good idea was that if you have a system that keeps you wanting the other person alive, at least for some time, then it benefits everything, because then you work together to kill the zombies. You're not just killing on site because you're bored. You actually have to work together with somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually been running through the game recently, and just the idea of trying to loot a building gets really hard sometimes, especially if I think we were running and showing somebody recently that we wanted to go through and run this through town, and Jimmy fired off a shotgun by mistake, and that called all the zombies in. So then someone had to distract the zombies while we did more looting, and so it just kind of plays into natural team play.
That's awesome.
Sure.
That is
so
really awesome.
Jimmy accidentally shot off a shotgun.
He had one shell, so I don't think he intended to shoot it immediately.
Yeah. Cool. All right, next.
What am I doing? Okay.
I don't know.
Yawning, apparently.
By the way, people are asking, when does this game come out? There's a cock. There's a countdown clock. There's a cock down in the corner. It's 28 days later. That's a movie about zombies or something?
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect time to do the H1. We timed this podcast so it'd be on a Friday or Wednesday.
What's today, Domo?
Just go on. I got a cock down in my head. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Oh boy! All right, we're gonna switch it to something that might be faster to answer. In re to vehicles, 2 questions about that: how many people will be able to fit in vehicles, and are there plans for them to be upgradable?
Upgradable. We want to be able to give you some ability to attach things. We have the inventory set up now, so you can put things different things into the vehicle and actually pull things out, like spark plugs. You can pull the spark plugs out, which people have done, and they're pretty frustrated to run around. It's like, oh, there's a car and it's got no spark plugs. All right, fine. No battery, but it's not going to be for a little bit yet, because again, that's the thing we want to do carefully to make sure we don't just throw a bunch of things in that people aren't going to use, and people aren't going to find interesting. But in terms of people in there, I think that we're looking at between 4 and 6 people for the vehicles. Most cars are 4-seaters anyway, so we kind of expect that. Mm-hmm. The off-roader we have is, I think, 4-seater, and we were looking at 6 for the truck. It's going to be kind of hard to fit them around because 2 in the front and 4 in the back. I think we were looking at that might be a problem because you might be able to shoot each other in the back, which might be a problem, but we'll see. So probably 4, my guess.
And then came Klegman.
Cool.
It's a real life issue.
What is?
Shooting people in the back of a ute.
No, is this happening in Australia just randomly all the time?
Dude, when I went to primary school, I used to live out in the country where ball shooting, roost shooting was done, and what they would do is literally they'd jump 4 or 5 guys in the back of a ute. One dude with the spotty would drive around, try and find them, and I've lost a couple of schoolmates through shooting accidents.
Holy shit! Really?
Because they got shot. Because an accidental firearm discharge in the back of the ute while they were driving along. one of them shot. I mean, not intentionally, but they're tracking a target, and all of a sudden, the guy that's on the other side of the U-trays. Yeah,
totally happened to me in Red Dead Redemption. I shot my horse right in the back of the head once.
Yeah. But it's a real life thing, so it should be in the game that you accidentally shoot someone in the back of the head.
Good,
The thing people don't realize about real firearms is they actually accidentally go off. I mean, they do accidentally go off. That's why when you're loading a firearm, you're pointing it somewhere you know nobody is, because you can load it and boom, it goes. It's happened a lot of times. Policemen did it in demonstrations by accident. It's happened, and so you definitely have to be careful.
People riding in the back of the truck, somebody just asked this question, and before we go on and have this question later on, riding in the back, is physics involved? So if you're bouncing over some big bumps, will they fly out of the back, or are they sort of
That would be hilarious.
Well, like
it would be hilarious, but actually it might not be fun.
No.
For the guy who bounces out and kills himself.
Yeah.
Doma, I'm going to shoot you back to Grand Theft Auto.
I know, Grand Theft Auto, yeah.
Back when you were doing that hillbilly run,
right.
The guy's in the back, and you kept on going over the bump, and he fell out, and you couldn't continue because the dickhead fell out.
Right, yeah, and I'm pissing, you know.
That is not fun.
It's fun.
I think that the general rule is we want you to be in somewhat control of the situation before you die, and it takes you out of control. I think that that's really not a fun situation for people. I mean, that's the way we're working right now.
Yeah.
We put in the zombie grappling, and that it kind of takes control away from the player. So we give you some chances to get out of that before you could die. That's the whole point, right? It's like this is a situation you have to change and get out of. But if people just insta-die, that's not very fun.
Yeah, it's not fun, yeah. All right. Go ahead, Skyla. Oh, sorry, Stackers, you wanted to say something.
Yes,
I was just going to ask about, in some of the DayZ mods, there's the ability for you to actually boot someone out of a car. Like there's an option while you're driving, you can actually scroll through the seats in the car and actually eject a player. So if you don't want someone in the car with you, are you ever going to have anything like that in your system where you can physically eject someone that gets into a car you don't want?
Like an animation
It's
of you
tough
actually
in the
booting
sandbox
them?
environment.
No, it literally just basically, that little animation to do sort of pops out of the car and he's now outside. It's like if you're sitting there and someone like Clegg gets in the car and you're like, no, I don't want you in here, Clegg, you smell. So then you select on the menu, passenger seat, or it might be just seat 1, 2, 3, 4. You select the seat that he's occupying, click it, and it basically ejects him out, which just pops him outside the vehicle again.
Well, I think
So there's no full-on animation or cutscene or anything.
The first thing you want to do is you want to lock the car before you find the Clegg, so he doesn't get in and smell the car up.
You
once
can lock
you've done that, it's kind of...
So there won't be locking?
I would actually make it like a melee thing, so you just kind of bump them out, but I don't think it's going to be in anytime real soon. The door locks are in now. I think they're working properly. Yeah, I think we have the locking now.
Okay. Will PlanetSide 2 benefit from H1Z1 development and assets?
Yes.
Zombies in PlanetSide 2?
Nice.
I mean, we work at the same company. I was talking to the guys yesterday about things. We do share tech back and forth. Not all of it's appropriate. I mean, they don't really have the AI system we do because they don't have AI. We don't have 2,000 people on a server right now, and they do. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect there. They have a lot more combined arms, but we got their system in place, and we go back and forth a little bit.
Cool. How will bases work when you log out? Will they be vulnerable during this time?
They're vulnerable at all times, I believe.
Nice.
So kind of a Rust mechanic, you could break in if you want and steal their stuff.
It seems a little bit cheesy you'd be able to lock them out by just logging out. That seems pretty exploitable. But it's something we'll have to address further on down the road to some extent. I mean, the idea is that you put it out there and hopefully you have someone protecting it, or you hide it away, or you lock it.
Depends on how easy it is to break in. Like how long it will take to... It depends on how easy it is to break into somebody else's base. Like how long will it take for me bashing into a wall to break down that wall? Or will I be able to make like C4 or something?
Like that. So you want to make sure you tune it correctly, right? If the problem is people are breaking into easily, make it harder. Don't just make it impossible. Just make it harder. And see how that plays out. It's the same thing we talked about fire, right? You want to burn everything down, that's great.
Right.
So if you turn that on day one, it burns everything down and nothing's left.
Mm-hmm. Will it be possible for one person to be significant if they did want to try and raid even a larger person's base?
I think that's probably always going to be true. I mean, at some extent, to some extent, you go on 20 to 1, that might be harder, but it's doable. I mean,
no, I don't mean necessarily like that. I'm talking about like in Rust, if one person was determined enough, they could, if someone was offline and wasn't there to repair it, get through someone's base, even if it was very heavily defended, if they were persistent.
I've done that.
Click.
Right. I think it was timed like 20 minutes for a stone wall with a hammer or something like that. And how significant can one person be in H1Z1? Will that one person, if given an opportunity of a few hours, be able to tunnel through or bunker bust through even the most hardiest of bases? Like, how do you see that playing out?
That's going to depend on how quickly they can make explosives, I would think, because that's kind of the game changer for force multiplication. But other than that, I mean, I think it's just going to be a time thing. There are things like now, we've set it up now so you can't punch down a tree. I mean, you can't just punch a tree and chop it down. So we have some of those mechanics in place that you would not be able to do it without certain weapons and certain tools. But I don't know that just because you're one person you wouldn't be able to do something.
Okay.
But my question leading into that is, you've got the base of the structure and the walls of all the things that we've seen currently made. Will there be like a physics to those buildings? So if I was to hack away at the foundation of the building and manage to damage that, would that then affect the structures on top of the rest of the structure? Like if I took a wall out and it was a 2-story building, would that affect the structural integrity of that building? Or would I be able to take out all the walls before anything even happened?
It would, but there's issues with that. Right now we're limiting it to 1 or 2 floors intentionally, partly for that reason. We don't want to introduce that kind of an issue because that's something that can be very much exploited if we do it improperly. So that'll be something we put in later when we allow building up higher.
Now, are there any plans, like if I take a wall down to 50%, will that wall start to crumble? Like will it actually show it crumbling, or will it just look the same at 50% that it does at 100%?
There'll be some visible damage to it, but again, that's a modeling time issue. The more time they have to put models in, the more models they put in.
Okay.
To some extent, it's also a space issue. I mean, we put too much detail in. We've also got to make sure that we have space for it. We're trying to keep the install kind of small. I've seen some pretty huge installs in games lately. We don't want to just explode out to a 100 meg install or 100 gig install. So we're going to start kind of small in that respect. We try to focus on the team on things that we know are important at first. And that usually means a small subset of things we work on to tune and tweak till we get them right. And then we expand those out more and more and more. Just like when we did the barricading on that stream originally. We built up one building, we tested that, we went through the whole process making sure it worked, and then we started expanding it out to the rest of the buildings and seeing how they work in each one and kind of progressing it at a reasonable pace so we can test it all.
Cool. All right, next.
Yeah. Oh, I had this question last week. Someone else asked it. Will there be server wipes during early access?
Probably. We expect them to be persistent, but at some point I can't guarantee during the early access period that there will never be something that you lose progress on, partly because of bugs. You might lose 5-10 minutes or whatever the server save rate tends to be. You could lose a certain class of item. We'll try and bring that back as much as possible. We're never going to plan for that. We want to make sure that we don't lose anything as much as possible, but my hedge is always, at some point we may have to.
Right. How fast will the map grow? Weekly, monthly? Do you even know?
That's going to depend on the launch situation. I mean, we want to grow it really quickly. We're not certain what ecosystem's next, but we want to grow out to another ecosystem, test that, and pull that in. It's really going to depend on how quickly we can get the other technology brought in as well. That's a few months out for sure.
Real quick about the pay. I'm sorry. The server setup in the beginning. A lot of people are asking the same question, and I just want to let it go too far. But what are you planning on doing for the number of keys? Somebody was saying that there might be a limited amount of keys available. Like there's only going to be, 1,000 keys available per server or something, and then that's it. That kind of thing.
I'm not sure what you mean by keys in this respect.
So on Steam, are there any plans to limit the number of early access keys that can be purchased?
Oh, no, not to my knowledge.
So if 1 million people were to buy keys the day of release, then you guys just have to figure out how to handle that many people coming into day one?
We would definitely find a way to make servers happen pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay. That's just the main questions. I keep seeing it coming up, and people are asking more about it. So.
Yeah. At what play... Whoa. Not that one. Where am I?
What are you drinking, Skylar?
What? I'm not even
coffee beer.
half a beer in. Like, it doesn't even matter. What feature has the team managed to implement which you didn't expect them to be able to pull off?
Ooh.
This is my favorite question.
Twerking bears.
I think that for the most part, we never really went for a feature we didn't think we could do. We try and talk about these features as a team. So we kind of know when things are going in. We don't necessarily know when we're going to populate different things, but I think for the most part it was pretty cool. I think maybe the ragdoll stuff going in really quickly, that was a real surprise. I mean, it's in there now. I think we're pretty close to having the full ragdoll set up for players and zombies and everything else. That was a lot quicker than I expected. That's really about us. I mean, the team's awesome, right? They can do anything.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's just a little bit of code, right?
yeah.
5 minutes.
Well, you guys are pretty ambitious. Like the entire team, you come up with some pretty cool stuff, even if it can't be done or it's just there's an implementation issue. Because I know that, like, I don't know how many months, almost 6 months ago, we were talking to Jimmy and we're just theorizing at that point because we didn't know much about anything. And I just said, "Oh, dude, you got to make bows and then arrows you can set on fire." And Jimmy's kind of sitting there with a twinkle in his eye, a little bit of, and then of course, how many months later we see early concept of flaming arrows and stuff. So I don't think there's anything that you guys can't pull off as long as there's the tech there to handle it.
I mean, my philosophy has always been, why aim for mediocrity? I always aim for whatever I can think of. Whatever would be cool and fun. That's the goal, is to, like, I want to make that. That's what I'm going to do.
It's cool.
Rabbit head on a stick.
Yep, rabbit head on a stick.
Yep.
Infected with the H1Z1 virus.
Will there be natural weather effects?
Yeah.
And someone's asking, in relation to that, if the map does expand to the quote-unquote entire United States, will weather be localized?
Weather is localized right now, and so you can actually run through a rainstorm in the current builds. That's been there for a little while now. So some of those are there. We got the wind in recently. It's mostly global for the wind right now, but we're going to try and set it up to be a little more localized. I don't know that we have torrential downpours set up or hurricane force winds planned for at the moment, but we want to do those things, I think, pretty quickly, depending on, again, the kinds of issues we find at early access. I mean, the end result is that if you put too many knobs in at once, then you can't tune anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll put in torrential rain, and then we'll put in tornadoes maybe, or whatever else. Bit by bit, we'll grow that out.
Do you guys still plan to implement the technology of, if a certain area receives a lot of rain, that like the water will pool up and maybe create sporadic moments of flooding and stuff like that? Because I know that was something you guys spoke about maybe a long time ago, that you hoped something like that could be possible.
Yeah, I definitely want to look at how we can set up reservoirs and flows like that, rivers and stuff. It's something people really want. And in a survival game, it's really something that would be really fun. Get in your canoe and go down the river would be kind of a great thing. And there's a lot of ambitions we want to have, but when they come in, that's really going to be up players in part of the roadmap system we're putting together. We'll have the ability to put things out there that people want, and then discuss how much time they'll take and how risky they are, and what are the ramifications for doing them, and then let the players figure out, well, do that, because it'll take 6 months. We can't do anything else. Fine, go ahead. That's
No pink dresses.
Oh.
Can't do anything else.
Sure.
Some things, that's the way it works, right? You have to lock the whole team down and do it, right? And other times, it's generally little bits of the team. That's what we try and do, things that are kind of little bits of the team at a time. That's the most efficient way to do it, really.
In to the weather question, someone just asked if you could gather water from rain. And we know that there's a dew collector, but is there like a rain barrel?
I don't know that there's a rain barrel specifically, but the dew collector does know when it's raining.
Cool.
And you also can't necessarily keep a fire going when it's raining either, so watch out for that.
Oh, wait, so the dew collector only collects when it's raining?
No,
It collects more when it's raining.
Oh, okay.
Right, the dew collector is just that. It's a dew collector. So you can come back and find some water. But if it's raining, then the intent is that it's going to collect more.
More? Perfect.
It's big enough, it's better, right?
Right, should, yeah. Real quick before we go to the next question, we are starting our giveaway. I'm going to give away a copy of H1Z1. So we're going to get that started right now. Of course, the game's not out yet, so we obviously can't give it away today, but I'm putting your name on a list of all the people that I'm sending it to when it does come out, and it's going to be a Steam key. So get this thing. What was that? What's that noise?
Somebody typing angrily.
Tangent. Oh, no.
Oh, is that me?
I don't know who it is. Somebody's crazy loud keyboard.
Oh.
I can't really say anything since my keyboard is the loudest.
Okay, so...
At what point will Player Studio be involved in the game?
In the future?
Everything
I
is
actually
in
don't
the
know
future.
when exactly. That's again another planning thing that we haven't really set up yet. We do want to do that because I think it's important to bring the players into the creation of that thing as well. That's part of the storytelling. It's just a great feature we want to put in there, but I just don't know when yet. I don't think it'll be for early access, although that may change.
I remember seeing in one of the live streams you guys showed the very early concept of the tagging system. I remember one of the guys tagged like the side of one of the structures that they made. How are you guys going to police people just, putting obscene shit over absolutely everything?
Very valid question.
I just wondered if there's some kind of review process or something that...
Schmeckles everywhere.
Yes.
They go to apply
Poorly
on this
drawn.
building, and
Mind
then
you.
there's some sort of program or someone who goes over it before it gets approved.
We can pretend that we can police it perfectly, but that will never happen.
Right.
We can use some of the filtering stuff we put in. I don't know if you guys looked at some of the filtering stuff we did for PlanetSide Chat. We have some pretty humorous stuff in there now. For if you cuss, it changes into a team member's name, things like that.
Okay.
So we can do some of that. That can kind of help keep some of it down. But, I mean, I don't know if you watch one of the streams of some of these survival games, what would we take out? I mean, there's some pretty crazy stuff people say in the game, so...
Can you please filter it so that instead of someone saying get fucked, it says get clegged?
That would be fantabulous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Please. So that...
Just like the chat filter.
Maybe.
Mother Clegger.
Mother Clagger.
Go clegg yourself. Oh.
That'd be
I
fantastic.
think that's actually in PlanetSide.
Is it?
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Oh. That is fantastic.
Like it's in too many places.
Have you guys looked actually at the Reddit tag for Clegg?
No.
I don't think
We
so.
have SOE tags for everybody in
Right.
Reddit, and Clegg's is on fire.
Nice.
Because.
Because
Just because.
Just because.
It's on fire?
Because he burns everything he touches.
No.
it started with a
Oh.
Galaxy parking job that he did that may not have been perfect.
Oh. Did it end in flames?
He actually parked a Galaxy in the middle of a biodome on its nose.
It's
between
fine.
two buildings.
Ooh.
Okay. So. All right. It was said that there are 16 weapons in game. How many of those are firearms, and how many of those are melee?
Ah.
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
What about the food one you wanted to ask last week, too?
Third of
90
those, I
food
think, are
types.
firearms.
Wait, how many?
About a third or a quarter, one of those two. That's
Third
more
or-
of a Jimmy question, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about food, then? Because they said there was 90 food, or not you, your boss, Smedley, said there was 90 food items, and we were kind of wondering and theorizing last week, is that 90 food ingredients, or
How
is that
many
90...
cheeseburgers?
Well, 90, tacos and, burritos. I mean, what kind of... Is there 90...
Can I get Chipotle?
Yeah, can I get Chipotle? So do you know, Tom?
I don't actually know that one off the top of my head.
Okay.
Cool. Man, there's like a top 10 most asked questions. I think we just need to put it on the side. What are you doing to discourage KOS? How do you feel about that, Tom?
Not much. I mean, it really depends on what you consider discouraging it. I mean, we could tell people not to do it. We could force them not to kill each other. But, I mean, to some extent, that's part of the drama of the game, is ensuring you communicate effectively and prevent that yourself to some extent. I mean, that's the way it works. That's the way the game works.
Character creation and customization will aid in the reduction of the kill-on-site epidemic.
You think so? Why do you think
I think
that?
you need to write an
will,
article about that.
Because there's psych stuff here, man. This is the stuff that I was like getting into studying in my master's. The possibility of desensitization sets in when you have just the exact same thing to shoot at over and over and over. If everybody's just like white guy, black guy, brown guy, it's just another black guy, white guy, brown guy that you're shooting at. They're not
What if
gonna-
you give them
it's-
big, like, Disney-looking eyes
it
and
might
sort
as
of
well
like
be
little bunny...
points. Who says you gotta do that? Just like
No, I'm
let
just
them
saying,
be like
like,
old or
please
young
don't
or
kill me.
wrinkled or something like that. If you see
Whose
an
beers will help the
old
most?
guy, an old decrepit old man with like the worst like musket gun in the game, and he's just like
Shoot him in
sitting
the
over there,
face.
and his name is actually called Pa. You're gonna
Right.
think twice before pulling that trigger.
No.
You're going to.
No,
I'm
I would
sorry.
think that he will
No, I
probably
would
be
shoot him right in the
tasty.
face.
Yeah, he'll probably
might
taste
be.
like fried chicken. Yes.
He
The
might
only way
be.
Paul survives is he's had some. If he's
But
lasted
might
this
be.
long, he's got something. on
But I'm just saying.
that machine
It's
gun
don't
in
you
the beard.
don't you think it would be a little bit easier to shoot at the same target every single time? Just because this is the thing you kill. Oh, that's what kill points look like. It looks like white guy, brown guy, black guy.
Tom, I gotta say, really though, I'm watching right now the stream, and this person's playing. This is very recent, apparently. This is for the actual live stream, and he's starting a fire by setting a flare next to the fire, not on the fire, but right next to it, and it caught the fire on fire. I think that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually based on the original system that Mitch put together when we started burning the houses down. We wanted to set it up so that we could set things on fire and affect things next to it as well. And so we actually had a test zone that had, I think, 250 houses in it.
Mhm.
And you just lit one on fire and you just watched it climb up there and set the roof on fire, and then caught the next building and the next couple of buildings, and the whole thing was eventually on fire.
That is fantastic. So we can burn our enemies' bases down.
That's the intent, yeah.
Nice.
We
Probably
just
your
discovered
own.
When 100 buildings are on fire, it might be a slight performance problem.
Will there be fire arrows? Like, can you light your arrow on fire, then shoot it into the base and catch the base
I
on fire?
absolutely want those, and they've been a test bed, but I can't guarantee that we'll have those ready to
But
begin with,
eventually.
again, because of the fire issue. I don't know how well we want to propagate fire to begin with. That's really the big issue.
And then you can light animals on fire, yes? I
Yes.
think I saw that on an earlier stream.
I would have
That's
set
the
a
way
rabbit on
the
fire.
world, is light a zombie or an animal on fire and watch them run.
Just like send the flaming animal into the base and see what happens.
Now that build that we were watching earlier, where you guys were building a base and you were setting off explosives on the floor of the base, why didn't they blow up the floor? Was that just because it was just earlier build, or is that not going to happen?
Is data set up right? I mean,
Okay.
to some extent, we have to make sure we know where resistance is set up and how the damage affects different objects, and so we just didn't do that occasionally. The same reason the spear was hitting things 100 meters away, right? Just
Yeah.
the data was wrong in that
Okay.
case.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Skylar. We have about 400 more questions to go through.
You would think that, except that we've just answered them all by talking. What part of the game have you worked on? Are you most proud of or excited about?
In H1Z1,
Yes.
I've always been a big fan of my projectile system. I like exterior ballistics, so I was a big fan of putting that together.
What? Sad.
I don't really
Okay.
get a chance to do a lot of the key things because I don't get
Yeah.
a chance to sit down for that long. This is actually pretty rare. No one's interrupting me, but that's because I told them I was going to be doing this.
They're so nice.
That's very nice.
About base building, I don't understand the question. Will we be able to use any type of prefab walls or floors? I feel like they're talking about existing buildings, which would be a yes.
Oh,
You can take over a building.
I think what they're talking about is like an actual prefabricated house itself. Like, can I, like in the forest where there's the little cabins.
the cabin
that
thing.
they're already made. Just plop them down and get all the materials for it. I think that'd be a pretty cool idea for like building your own town with your community. Maybe you all have the artistic ability of a squirrel, and we just want to get the pre-made stuff, so people don't laugh at your buildings.
It's like a
To
shanty
build a
town.
house, it takes a little while. I mean, I don't necessarily like. I mean, you've seen a lot of it in the stuff we put together now, where you just build something, you put some logs together, and plop it right down.
Mhm.
It's not the way we expected it to be always. We want to have that time investment has to be there, and building a nice looking house takes a really long time. And that's part of the investment we want to put into the game, I think. Because one of the things that will persist even after you die is some of those buildings you put in the world.
But that's also why we have such a hard problem with the griefing, because it will take you, say a week or two to build a really good place that's defensible, and then have somebody walk in and just grief you. That's why I think a lot of people are concerned about that. If this was a game that didn't have building, where you could just ignore that and just like Miscreated, you can't really build anything base wise there, and you just run around and you're gathering things. I don't think people feel nearly as bad about dying or being griefed there as they do in a game like H1Z1, where you'll have that sort of ownership of that beautiful place you've been
If
working
you build things out of wood, they're flammable, right?
Right.
If you build things out of metal, not so much.
So make a metal house.
Yes.
So, is a metal house then more difficult to destroy in general?
Flameproof?
I would imagine it'd be pretty difficult, although I haven't looked at the numbers recently. That's kind of the... I mean, giving the options to the player, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to build something that's temporary, or do you want to build something that's permanent? And the best option is probably to take over a building that's existing, because that's a lot less investment.
Can other people... can you build stuff on other properties, is what they're asking. So if someone puts down a foundation, can someone else on that same foundation build on that?
That's more of a future question. I think maybe Clegg can answer some of that. He's in chat, isn't he?
Clegg is here.
He was.
He's clicking
I
about
see him log in.
there somewhere.
H1Z1 Dave is here as well.
If we just keep saying their names, do they appear again? Is that how this
Clegg.
works?
It's magic.
Clegg.
Click.
Get Clegged, Clegg.
Yes.
We'll see if they heard
By
it.
the way,
We'll come
everybody,
back.
to enter the raffle, all you got to do is type in H1Z1 one time. You guys don't have to spam it. If you spam it, it actually kills a small baby seal.
Oh, whoops. I must have killed 17 seals.
You probably killed 17 seals. And you have to be following. That's the only prerequisite that my bot requires.
I don't like baby seals dying.
Oh,
Yeah.
Clegg says he's not here.
Okay,
He's only
Clegg
a
isn't
figment
here.
of our imagination.
Well, he's a
Cool.
figment of my fantasies, but maybe not,
It's Dave 1Z1.
It's Dave 1Z1. It sounds like something a child would wear. So I usually don't.
Oh, 1Z.
A 1Z. It's like Dave 1Z1. I call you Dave Z1. I'm sorry.
Shared plots and foundations are something we want to do, but not at early access. Okay.
I hate
He
baby
was
seals.
listening.
Here comes the spam.
Yeah, the spam's back.
Because I said don't do it.
I hate baby seals.
Died seals.
How do keys work for unlocking bases and vehicles?
How is what?
The key.
How do keys work?
You know what would be really
How do
cool?
keys work? Hold
You
on,
have
I have
an
one on my
actual
desk.
key.
I have
Yeah, like an actual key instead of just putting in a number code.
Or something
Yeah.
like that contains a large amount of heroin.
Right now, we're looking at locks using key codes. So you have a number you
Good.
you
That's a
share.
good idea. Yeah.
I mean,
I think it'd be pretty cool if you had an actual physical key, like an item in the game called a key that opened your door, and you could hide that key and whatnot. And somebody killed you, they got your key, and then they could open your door.
in DayZ Epoch, they have a key system where you find a key crafting kit, and then you use tin cans. You put the tin cans into the fire, and it melts it up, and you can craft keys with it, physical keys, like for vehicles and for homes and stuff like that. But it becomes very messy, because once you've got 2 or 3 doors, once you've got, you know, a vehicle, you've got 4 keys, and they're these physical things that are floating around. All the same icon, and it's like, what do I, you know, I can't hold all these keys. So I think, honestly, key codes, like pin numbers and stuff, are the easiest way to do it.
Well, what I was thinking about is the issue of I have a key, and I get killed and drop that key somewhere. Where is that key now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Problem in Rust.
good point.
It is a problem, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the new codes in Rust. That's nice, having the key codes on the door.
It's kind of hard because you gotta hide that code on stream every time.
Yeah, you just turn. Well,
You're
I
going
just
back and forth through doors all the
Just
time.
hotkey it.
well, once you put it in, then you don't have to keep. You don't click the lock. Just click the door. It opens on its own. You never have to put the code in again on the stream. Pro tips for Mike.
Yeah, man. L2 stream.
Builds a
He's
base
never played
yet.
video games before.
You know
He
what?
doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't. I play board games.
Yeah, on the stream.
Monopoly.
Streams board games. All right, guys. Only 26 minutes left in this raffle. Then we'll be getting the hell out of here. So let's get these questions cranked out here.
Woo! How will your friends list work? I know that Smedley touched briefly on this during
No
the
friends
live
list.
stream. But will there be a friends list? How will you be able to find them? Etc. Etc.
Bird calls.
The friends list right now is kind of up in the air. I mean, we've talked about different things, and people have talked about the way that you can see name tags and stuff, and that's kind of a concern for the players. My personal belief is that it should be something you can tag with personally, so you can see a guy and say, all right, I want to call him Fred. He told me his name was Fred. I'll believe him. So he's now Fred to me. So if he comes near, I see the word Fred. So you'd have that maybe, but I mean, other people have said that we want to have different ways of doing friends, so we kind of have to work that out. And it's going to depend really on the social interaction that evolves in the game. I mean, how much do you want that information available? Do you want to know your friends are online? That kind of takes away some of the mystery, I think.
I killed a guy in Miscreated today that was actually one of my viewers, and I didn't know it because I didn't have his name over his head. I'm like, okay, I'll kill him. So that does lend itself, and I guess that was part of our discussion before with the character customization. If you can't really customize your character to really fine detail, then it's hard to tell who they really are if you don't have a name tag of some kind. So I can sort of see your system being a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that we put the name tags in is originally because we needed to know who everybody was. We had just one model. So that's why we had it in there, because we had it for planet side. So we just turned it on. And then we decided that we wanted to put it kind of close. And it just seems to work pretty well. I mean, people say they don't want name tags, but really, you're 2 meters away from somebody. Why wouldn't you just see their name at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Just
not really
wear
interesting
matching
that-
clothes.
I think what most people are concerned about
Color
is...
coordinated.
Oh, yeah, well, you can do that too. But I think what most of the people's concern is that, you know, like in games like World of Warcraft where somebody's name is big and then they have a guild tag and they got some other tag and a title, and then they're hiding behind a tree, but their name tag is sticking out 5 miles on either side of the tree because they're so voluminous with their names. I think
that's pretty cheap, actually.
Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
Right. So maybe limit it to a certain number of characters or something like that, so it's not so huge. But you're saying you can only see it up to 2 meters away, so...
It's been 2, 5, 10. I don't know what it is set right now, but it's pretty close. You can't see it from 100 meters.
It takes a lot of trust in a game where you kill somebody and take their things, which is going to add a little bit of tension, which I like. I like that sort of, should I take this guy out or not?
Tension's a big balancing act. It's part of the drama. You know, it's a thing that writers struggle with when they write books and movies and stuff. Building that tension is hard in a game that's interactive like this too. So you've got to make sure we control that pretty well, and tweak those numbers so that there is that tension still there. I mean, that's why we want the nighttime to be kind of dark.
Yeah,
it builds that tension. Although you can then sit there for a while and it gets lighter eventually, and you've got some of that in there. But you're running around with a flashlight and you just running all of a sudden 5 zombies in the light, like, oh god, it's tension.
How long is the day-night cycle? And I'm sorry I'm jumping into questions because there's still 1,000 questions.
No, please. No, not really, because a lot of them are being answered
while we're
anyway.
talking.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So what about the day-night cycle?
Most of the time it's been around 90 minutes, I think, is what we were looking at right now. Kind of 1/4 night, 2 3/4 day, I think, is where we're at right now. It's a balancing act because, I mean, there's a lot of people who don't like the idea of nighttime at all. And so it's kind of hard to balance that with teams that play it one way and play another way. I play the night cycle all the time. I like playing at night because not everyone does, and not everyone's really good at it. But
it's a different skill set. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sky.
Okay. How rare are the items to make explosives?
They don't want
That
C4.
changes. Yeah, I mean, it changes day to day. It's a tuning knob we have. We just tweak it and decide whether that's good or not. Right now, I think our loot's too plentiful, but again, for testing, it's not as big a deal as it is for actual play.
Is there literally a global loot knob that you can go, okay, there's just too much loot on the server, and you can just turn it down a little bit?
I'd really like there to be a physical knob for this.
Yeah.
It goes to 11.
11.
11.
Is VoIP in for EA?
Wipe is in right now. Yep.
And
Walkie-talkie void.
does it do the does it attract zombies yet or not?
I don't think we have VoIP attracting zombies. We might have. I think we just turned on the sirens, the police sirens, and some other things.
Mm-hmm.
But the VoIP is the same thing we have at PlanetSide. It's just proximity only right now. There is no global chat of any kind that I know of.
Okay.
With that said, how much I don't know if this is the right word, but like how robust are you going to make the voice chat if it's going to be the main way of communicating in game? Because like there's been some games in the past that have had voice chat that it's really hard to hear people. Like, are you planning on making the voice chat be something that's really striving for crystal clarity, or just to be a testing communication tool?
We're using the same Vivox backend we have for PlanetSide.
Nice. So proximal distance or proximity chat.
Yeah, 3D positional proximity chat.
Ah, that's so awesome.
That moment when you're sneaking through the forest and somebody goes, "Hey!" and scares the crap out of you.
Oh, God.
Yay!
I'm just gonna hide in a dumpster and whisper to people as they come past.
Right.
Yes.
I want your
I played a
toothpicks.
couple of games where that was like the most interesting experience. I was sitting in my little place waiting for them, and someone's outside going.
But then you get the guy that goes around playing, La Cucaracha on their radio constantly.
Christmas music.
Yeah.
If you've been in PlanetSide and the guy's been running through playing the Ice Cream Man songs,
Yep.
that's awesome.
Or the sax guy in the sax song.
NC guys
Yep.
in PlanetSide running through, Born in the USA. That's
Oh wow!
that's part of the game.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
No, I think that's fun.
Bruce, we already answered that question, sorry.
Which one?
When will bicycles be added?
Oh, yes, we did.
In the future.
Sometime. And
Tricycles with
what about
tassels
mounts?
and ring-rings.
Like
Mounts.
horses.
I want a flying mount.
Or flying. Yeah.
Bear cavalry.
Big flying mounts.
Pegasus. Oh, yes.
How about I launch you in
Tribal
game?
bears.
Yeah, you could launch me.
I want to tame a bear and ride it into the sunset.
Just like Putin.
With the cowboy hat on
Just
and
like
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Can zombies attack you if you're sitting in the back of the truck or in a vehicle at all?
Can they attack? They can't pull you out of vehicles right now, but they can attack things. I'm not sure how much damage they're doing, but I was actually, they come up and you can run into too many of them, the things will flip over because there's just too many people there. So there's definitely interactions, although the knobs are being tweaked again still. A lot of these things are just numbers we tweak, and so...
Yeah. Okay. If players reclaim a city from zombies, will they still spawn randomly in the city? So if it is an entire player town, will zombies still spawn in the town?
We make it a point right now, I think, to ensure that the zombies don't spawn right next to you at any point. So if the players are all inside there, the way the heat system is put together, they spawn outside the area and then come back into there, basically. So if you're all in the area clearing it out and you stay in a tight area, then you'll get surrounded eventually.
Can zombies climb ladders? That's an interesting question.
If we have ladders, they would climb them. We don't yet have those.
No, he was saying that's a deal breaker. Does that mean if they can climb ladders, you're not going to play, or if they can't climb ladders, you're not going to play? This is my question to you.
How he wants to break ladders.
What?
Shoot some ladders?
Shoots and ladders.
Shoots and ladders with set every night.
Yes, there'll be first person in car eventually, right? They're asking.
That's the plan. We have some of the interior models now, but they look kind of
so
crappy.
Clegg
You don't have
answered
anything
that.
hooked up to them, so.
Oh.
Clegg says zombies won't spawn near players, but as soon as they log out, they will respawn unless you have a 24/7 watch.
Fun.
Nice.
Cool idea.
Tom, can you tell us a little bit about the hot spots with the zombies, the heat map? Because I think it's a little bit of confusion. Some people think it actually has to do with heat, but it's more
it
about
does.
the activity, right?
Yeah, the heat map is a statistical term basically we use, and it basically just it allows us to track where things are happening in the world, and so we have it laid out on a grid where certain things happen, and that helps the zombies figure out where things are. That's part of their sensory system. It's like, hey, I heard something over here, and if they're actually nearby, they can see and hear things and remember that actual location, so they'll go over there. When you run around a corner, they know you ran around the corner, they lost track of you at the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But when there's no one else around, if you're making noises, they just kind of wander that direction anyway. When they have nothing else to do, they just wander towards where things are. Things like items, the number of items, they get attracted by shiny things, the idea there. They remember where cars are because they were once human, so they kind of wander there when they have nothing else to do. That's what the whole heat map system is for. It just plops down a little plop point in the grid that says, all right, 100 here, go there.
That's a scary-looking zombie.
Oh, yeah, let me see. Clegger just posted something. But what about the spawn? So when you spawn back in, people were asking about this before. Are you going to have the spawn point's going to be dropping you in a low heat area?
That's the intent. I personally think that we should allow them to choose whether they want to be in the middle of a zombie fight or not. So you say, sure, put me in the middle of the zombies, or nope, I'm a chicken. One of those two.
Is that like the instant action from PlanetSide 2?
It'd be kind of like that. It's not based on the same system, but it is kind of like that whole idea. It's like, if you want to get in there and just blow zombies up and hit them and find stuff, then why shouldn't we just let them spawn in a house next to a zombie? I actually did that today. It was kind of scary and fun.
That's awesome. That's a scary-looking zombie.
It's a little freaky.
Yeah.
Got Jello
It's
brain,
supposed
Jello
to be
neck.
happening.
That's probably not.
Intended. It's a feature, not a bug.
That's a feature.
Oh, checking out the potentially broken zombie.
Yeah. No.
No, that's a feature.
Just like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. That's a neck zombie, they call it. All right. Next.
Right. Okay. I know that we can barricade buildings and stuff. We'll be able to build barricades in roads.
I don't know which barricades are set up to be moved around. We have some concrete ones we've allowed to be placed around just internal testing wise, but I'm not sure how we would set those up to be crafted in game. Although concrete something you can make pretty easily. It takes a while to cure and things like that. So I don't know what will allow them to place that wouldn't just be a wood structure, because those are the simplest ones that you can carry around and build in place. So that's kind of an up in the air question still.
Now, quick question: if we took over, like my group took over an entire town, would we be able to put barricades or walls around the town and then maintain them to keep like a complete,
We do have
town's ours?
we have both the walls you can place on a foundation only and walls you can place in the world, so you should be able to do that.
Okay.
It's a lot of resources.
Will
Some of them are.
Yeah.
Will you be able to fortify existing doors? Like you were saying before that it might be easier to take over an existing structure. Well,
Wall up windows.
if anybody can press E and open the door, can you put a lock on an existing? Like I'm looking at this scene right now. These guys in this apartment building. Could one of them turn around and put a lock on the door to the roof and have the roof be their home?
That's something we
break
want
down the
to be
door.
able to do.
Yep.
But there's a bit of an exploit there we have to be careful of. That example is the rooftop. Is like somebody could then follow up behind you and then break that door down and place their own door, and now you're locked on the roof.
Which
is
happens
part
in
of the
Rust.
game, but
Right.
we want to make sure we know when that's going to happen. That we have to understand and control those situations, I think. So we do want to be able to place your own doors and locks on buildings.
Seriously
I'm
though, an
not
apartment
sure the state
building.
of
Sorry.
that right
Apartment building is a fantastic place to take over if you have a large community because you can own the whole block, you know. Sort of like Judge Dredd style.
You can be a slumlord if you want.
Yeah, exactly.
If there was a big enough open area in a building like this, could you theoretically build your own man-made structures inside or on top of one of these?
A base on the roof?
Yeah, exactly.
It's limited to where you can place things right now. It has to be on the actual terrain, I think.
Okay.
So that kind of limits everything, so you can't place one structure on top of another structure using the same system. But that means you can't place it necessarily in the middle of an apartment building. I think you can on the roads.
Okay.
I think you can, yeah. Cool. But we want to limit that to some extent. We're not going to allow that pretty much anywhere. Like putting a shack in the middle of your warehouse, maybe, probably not allowed.
Now I'm watching here. They're driving the car. Question about the cars: can I drive a car through somebody's base and do damage to their walls, potentially, you know, running down their walls at the expense of my car? Like, if we just want to use a car as a battering ram, we've got a group behind us. Is that possible?
I think the scene that I saw that would be really cool is something somebody mentioned recently online, which was I want to get in the police car, turn the sirens on, run through town, and smash through your base, and then park it and run. So, I mean, the idea is that you wouldn't be able to do that. You can damage them now. I think there's still a few issues with bugs where it stops you or some other weird physics stuff, but we'll work through those and get it out there. I think the intent is that we will just run right through some of these things. It's pretty easy with a car to run through chain link fence.
Okay.
Sweet.
KX Dog has a question. Like we're saying, we're talking about taking over a prefab building, but what will happen when there's people joining the server and it becomes populated and all the looted buildings are locked up? Build your own, right? Build your own house. At that point, you can build a house from scratch, right?
I think he's talking about if, for example, there was a small town with 6 houses. Those houses are where loot spawns, but then those 6 houses get basically occupied by people, barricaded, whatever. Yeah. Now what happens to the loot spawns? They've all been locked away.
Oh, I see, the loot spawns.
What happens is there a situation when buildings get... You know, I've saw it in DayZ on our own server. People would intentionally barricade off buildings that they knew would spawn really good loot and then lock them up. And then not live there, but just come back every now and then when the spawn's relooted, open it up, go in, grab their stuff, and leave.
Yeah,
I don't think we want loot spawning inside player-owned structures. That's kind of a silly thing. I mean, that's the way.
So if you take over a house, it stops all loot spawns inside?
That's, I think, the intent. I'm not going to guarantee that's worked completely yet.
Yeah, no.
We'll find that out pretty quickly, won't we?
Sure. But the intent is that if there was a pre-made structure that had loot spawning in it and a player then took it over, that loot would no longer spawn there? That's your intention?
I think that's the intention, yeah.
Cool.
Otherwise, it's just too exploitable. You could just log in every day and then throw things out the window.
Yep.
Although you could start up a store, maybe that's people who want that, I don't know.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say if I do take over, you know, a loot spawning house and barricade it, will the loot continue spawning so I can potentially just, you know, continue getting loot, or what will happen?
I think the intent is not to allow that exploit.
Okay.
But it's possible people might enjoy that. I can't say for certain, right? At some point, we want to make ourselves beholden to the players saying, no, let's try it. It could be fun for us. We think this is a fun idea. Let's try it.
Wouldn't it make
example
sense?
I use is the 2,000-person server. If you have 2,000 people on a server, most people are like, no, that's terrible. It's like, maybe somebody wants that. I don't know.
Let me ask you.
Wouldn't it make sense to, you know, take over a police station? Because I'm assuming police stations where all the, you know, some really good guns are going to spawn. Take over that police station and then just have the guns constantly spawning and get you guys all geared up. And then you've got a bunch of guys who are ridiculously geared up, but nobody else can go to the police station because you've got it held down.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want to allow that. Yeah. That's pretty cheesy. And right now, it definitely doesn't spawn when you're nearby. That's for certain. But the ownership thing is the only thing in question, and that's going to kind of limit. If we have issues with that, we'll just basically not allow you to pour those up. That's the way it's going to work, right?
I got a question here about populations. If you have a server where you guys say potentially could be the size of Connecticut in real life, okay, that potentially could be really that large, and you have a population of only 2,000 people, is there a chance that the game would seem kind of empty and lonely, or you're going to sort of try to have central places that people really need to go? If like you really want a rocket launcher, you have to come to this one town because that's like the only place that they're available.
I think the example I used was my vision was to have like maybe the idea of a machine shop somewhere that wouldn't move, so you have to go find the machine shop to do something complicated. That's not in the game now, but it's something we talked about, that kind of thing. That provides a place for people to go, but people know they go there, and so that's a gankable area too, and so there's a balancing issue there we have to really watch out for. So it's not been done because that, again, is something that's like, I'm going to go over there and boom, you're dead. So
but you need to have that sort of threat too. Like you have to know that, oh geez, this is not a great idea, but I got to go make this widget because I can't get through this town if I don't do that. You know, that kind of thing.
It is, but again, it's a matter of balancing the tension elements, and so making sure that we have the time to balance the ones we have now before adding some of these other more complicated and gankable situations. We really want to, and we've waited this long to put it out, but we really want to make sure that the players have enough fun stuff to do that they can do these fun things when the game gets released for early access. And so we want to make sure that we limit that to a point we know we can provide a constantly fun experience.
Okay. Skylar, you got a couple good questions that popped up, I guess.
I do have some questions that popped up. What type of stuff triggers a zombie horde?
Noise and player activity. And then, the game servers decide how much fun they want you to have.
Yep. Having too much fun. Spawn more zombies.
I know in the announcement stream that they said they were implementing some things like when it's raining really heavily, the sound of the rain will disorientate the zombies a little bit. Would they potentially then move away from like a bad... So if it's raining really badly in an area and because they can't see very well and they can't hear very well, is it potentially that they would move away from that bad weather area? Like with weather...
I wouldn't say they'd move away from it as much as I would say they wouldn't be... It's going to up what we call the noise floor, right? So that's essentially going to provide a more consistent value for that heat map you mentioned earlier. So that kind of spreads the load out and reduces the interest level, that I guess you would say. So they'll be less interested in that, but they're not going to go away from it as much as just not be worried about coming towards it.
Fair enough.
All right, is there any work being done on replacing any of the animations at this point?
Constantly, yes. I think we just put another 15 in the last couple of days that, we've got a bunch of movement animations and attack animations. I don't have a list in front of me, but we just post. We make updates every day, and the animators are making changes all the time. We've gotten some of the more usual ones in, the walking and the running stuff we got in really quickly, and some of the other ones take a little more tweaking because they were done with props, and we have to tweak them so they fit with our stuff. The gun holding has to fit with our gun, and the hands have to be correct, and so that takes a little longer. But then punching and stuff, that was done, and it's all a matter of tweaking and then marking up the animations correctly and putting them in.
Can we keep the broken prone animation? Because that just is awesome.
You love that one.
You're talking about Centaur prone, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so amazing.
It's probably still in right now, actually,
or,
to be honest.
You could put that in the, as a monetization option. I would definitely pay for the option to have Centaur prone. 100%.
You can send me, I'll send you an address. Send me $1,000? No.
Okay, all right.
You heard it. He's buyable.
Yeah.
Let me ask you real quick before we move on. We're almost ready to get done with this raffle here, guys, and we're going to be finishing up the show for today. DayZ has a serious problem with zombies that there's just not enough of them. Are you guys going to have... Do you have like a slider that you can sort of like ramp up the server so that you can kick it up a little bit? Sometimes if you find that just the areas are just too empty. Like there's just no threat anymore.
We do have one, and I can tell you right now that when I was running around today, I was not able to go more than 30 seconds without seeing a zombie most of the time, or at least another animal sometimes.
Perfect.
So there's definitely a lot of things in there right now. We have that number tweakable, and it has gone horribly wrong many times.
So you tweaked it the wrong way.
The example I gave a while back was we actually had it spawning about... We wanted to spawn once every 60 seconds. that turned into once every 60 milliseconds. That meant by the time we got logged into the server, there were already 7,000 zombies in there, and nobody survived.
Nice. Nice. All right. Yes, and so you guys are doing an official. Are you going to be with that tomorrow? They're doing an official live stream tomorrow with the devs on H1Z1 channel. Are you going to be part of that?
I think we'll all be part of that.
Awesome.
Probably stopping in different ways. There's some pretty cool stuff coming up. You should definitely watch.
Is there stuff in the live stream then tomorrow that we have not seen yet?
Probably. Was that vague enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. Needs to be more vague.
How very Sony of you.
Soon, TM.
Soon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you even have an emote called Soon, for God's sake. All right. So, I guess the last question here: are you guys going to be changing the inventory system? I guess from what we're seeing on the screen.
Let me take a look at the screen again real quick. See here.
It's off and on.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the things you haven't seen. Yeah, we've gone to more of a. We've gone to a slightly different system, so we'll let Jimmy show you some of that. You will definitely see some of that change tomorrow, I'm sure. We think it's a better system overall. We've given you a couple different options, and we've changed the way that you put things into your containers.
Okay. It's just right-click to pick things up?
I think it's double-click.
Oh, double-click, okay.
Or drag.
Drags are a problem. Have you seen the new the way they're doing with Rust for stacks? Like you can. I hate it. Yes, I was going to say I don't like it, but
I have, and it confused me for a long time. It's not messaged well, and I mean I got confused about it. I find it hard to really get the mouse in just the right spot for what
exactly. Like you want 7 things, and you have a stack of 1,000. You have to break that stack up into a smaller stack just so you have enough resolution to get to 7. Otherwise, you can't do it.
And we have some stack break. We can do a couple different mechanics with stacks right now in our current setup, but we're not gonna have quite the same problem because you can't carry 10,000 or something, right? That's not the way our game works.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we would have, even if we did something like that, we wouldn't have that same problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay, everybody, we're gonna do our giveaway right now. Remember, how we do this giveaway is you have to be here, you have to be following. If you're not here, the bot will skip you. If you are not following, the bot skips you, and you have 1 minute after your name comes up to say something in chat, and then, like I said, the game, I can't give it to you today. It doesn't come out until January 15th, and when that day comes out, I'm buying them all on Steam, and I'll be sending you your key. So, what time is the stream tomorrow, by the way?
I think it's 4 o'clock. Let me verify that.
Or PST?
Let me check. I'll double check.
Oh, I'd be really happy for that because for some reason I thought that it was 10 a.m. PST, and I'm not crawling out of bed before that.
You're a night
I
owl.
was
Wake
pretty
up
sure it
that
was
early?
afternoon PST, but I'm going to double check.
Maybe Clegger can hop in.
Who wakes up at 10?
That's what I'm saying. I will not.
You night owls.
I was only up till 2.
All right, let's do the raffle. Here we go, everybody. Dan, 123er.
That's me! No.
No.
Congrats,
I spelled my name.
Are you here, Dan, 123er? You have 1 minute to say something.
Come on, Dan.
Claim it.
4 p.m. PST. Cool.
What? What? That's right. He said what?
What?
Awesome.
That's
All
not
right,
how you spell my name.
Dan, please send me a message on Twitch here with your Steam email address, and I'll put you in my database of people I'm sending the game out to on the 15th. Congratulations, Dan. Yay! All right, let's go around the room first, and then we'll close up with Mr. Tom. Satellizer, tell us about your channel, where people can find you, and all that stuff.
I am Satellizer Games Variety Caster. I play all sorts of games ranging from MMOs, RPGs, FPSs, a lot of survival games lately, getting ready for H1Z1. I play a lot of DayZ, Rust, The Forest, all that kind of stuff. I will be, what was I going to say? Oh, well, you can find me at Satellizer Games on Twitter, twitch.tv/Satellizer Games, all that good stuff, and YouTube /Satellizer Games 55.
Okay, it's Tangent.
You can find me at twitch.tv/Tangent Gaming or on Twitter @Team Tangent. And basically with my channel, if there's something worth playing, I will be playing it.
That's right. And you're going to be live after this, right? You're going back on the air?
I'm going to be going back on the air after this, after I have some dinner.
Yeah,
it might be something a retro throwbacky. I'm not sure.
No idea what you're playing yet.
My guys might have an idea. We'll see. It's probably going to be a setup for a future stream.
All right.
Pretty cool.
Miss Skyla?
I am Skylatron on Twitch and Twitter. I stream mostly MMOs, but occasionally some other stuff. I do have a light on. It's really bright, too. I don't know what's wrong with you people.
I want to see your pretty face.
Yeah, Nisco. And you can also find my work on tentonhammer.com. I do social media and some writing there.
She's the head cheese at Tenton. Don't let anybody fool you.
Yeah, Swiss last week.
Camembert.
This week.
Camembert. What were you this week?
I'm doing Provolone this week.
Provolone.
Sorry.
Stockus, go.
Hi! I'm Sergeant Stackers on Twitch, on Twitter. Now that most of my personal stuff is done and it's not much else can do about it, I'm going to be streaming again, pretty much hopefully full time. Going to start off with free-to-play games, so stuff that people can join in on, Planetside 2, Firefall, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, love you, Mum.
Yeah, everyone should follow him. And I want to give a big special thanks to Tom, Mr. Cycles McHurt Schenkman, for coming on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great time. You guys are awesome.
Oh, we appreciate
Even when you're off the camera, it's kind of fun.
You're
crazy off the camera.
I think everyone said that.
We should do a pre-show, but it's not safe for work or television
No.
or anything. So thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it, and look forward to having you back on the show another time soon. Oh, Tomorrow now.
And before we go, can we get Dave1Z1 and Clegg to throw their Twitters in chat? You
sexy
Clegg, you
beasts.
loser, put your stuff in chat, and everyone follow the
all the other devs that are here watching, please put your stuff in chat, please. And
Everyone.
every people.
You get a link. You get a link.
And you get a link. And you get a link.
Everyone gets a link under their seat.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be back again tomorrow, I guess. I think we'll probably go back to playing some Rust tomorrow, everybody. So come on the server, and it will be my honor to eat you. So come on the server, get killed by me, and then I'll eat you and gain your power, and it'll be a special time for us.
You might have a certain bearded extra cannibal helping him.
Oh, good. Yes. Come by. Yeah.
Awesome.
It'll be good.
Awesome.
And maybe I could eat Tangent, because I bet he tastes like shawarma.
Maybe there will be a backstab at some point.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for the love and everything in my face. And we'll see you next time. Remember, it's nice to be important, but more important to be nice. See ya.
I hate everyone.
Oh, shut up.